there is a lot to discuss today, and I've got like an hour and some change. Oh, this is actually really nice. I'll post a link to this in chat. I don't know if he's uploaded anything new, to be fair. No, he hasn't. This guy's really talented. Oh, he has actually. Stars EP. I'll have to check these out. Yeah, this guy here is really talented. I'll post a link to his channel. I do like his work. He's really cool. So yeah, might as well get started. See, QA left this question, which is to have a look at what the betting companies are doing in terms of election odds, because betting companies do a lot of work in this, because obviously it costs them money if they lose. So obviously this video is not sponsored by this betting company here. It's just one of the first ones that popped in my head. So and obviously if you're not if you do have issues around gambling, then I'll be done with this in a few minutes. But yeah, gambling addictions are absolutely horrible. I've seen that firsthand. It does not go well for people, given how readily available it is. But having a quick look at this, so let's see. Labour are at 1 to 10 to win the most seats, so obviously that's really bad odds. I think it's for every £10 you bet, you get £1 back. The Conservatives 6 to 1, so I think that's every £1. I can't remember how betting odds work actually. Let's see. It's been a while. I looked at bookies like many years ago. Betting odds calculator. There we go. Let's see. Let's see if we go 10 to 1, just on a second screen, just here, and then we bet 10 to 1. Can you give me the thing? Stake £1. Oh, I've got it the wrong way around because I'm an idiot. Okay, that makes sense. So you make 10 pence profit. So for every, I think for every pound you bet, you get 10 pence back. So that's trash. So I think 6 to 1. 6 to 1 is every £6 you bet you get £1 back, or let's see, it's been a long time since this. Yeah, for every £6 you get £1 back. So that's terrible. Those are absolutely total profit 6 to 1. No, I've got it wrong again. No. Let's see. Is anyone in the comments can help me with this? No. Okay. I think it's every pound you bet you get £6 back. So Reform, okay, that would make sense. So Reform, every pound you put on Reform, you get £50 back. The Lib Dems 1 to 200. So it's interesting they've got Reform having a higher chance of winning the general election than the Lib Dems and the Greens. Obviously at the bottom, the Greens makes a bit more sense, but Reform having significantly better odds than the Lib Dems is interesting. I wonder if they think people might take a gamble on it because they're stupid. So we've got the government after the election. So you got 1 to 5 on Labour. So trash. Labour minority 4 to 1. So that'll be Labour winning but not getting an outright majority. A Labour plus Lib Dem coalition. So these are two different outcomes here. So Labour could run a minority government, or Labour in coalition. Conservative coalition 12 to 1. Conservative minority 12 to 1. It's interesting they're the same. I thought a Labour Conservative majority would be much lower than that. Compared to Conservative minority even. Labour plus SNP coalition, there's no chance of that happening. Conservative plus Reform coalition, that would be a dark alliance. Labour, Lib Dems, SNP coalition, that'd be nuts. Excuse me. As I got outside to get tired. Let's see. Okay, so they've got it odds on, let's see, what month for the election? They think it's going to be November or October. Okay, May is quite high, 7 to 1 odds. September 12 to 1, 12 to 1 for quite a few months. 2025 or later 12 to 1. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I might be tempted to put some money on that one. I've got a feeling he might just drag it out until the end. But yeah, February 24 that is impossible. So that one, really, that's an impossible bet because I think it's 6 weeks. Election has to take place over it needs 6 weeks notice. So that's a fool's bet there. So we've got overall majority, Labour 1 to 5, no overall majority 9 to 2, Conservatives 12 to 1, Reform 201 to 1 even. When will the next election take place? So they've got even more here. Month the next general election takes place. They've got 2 here, it's weird. Let's see. Okay, so we've got a range of months here. October to December 1 to 3, April to June 5 to 1, July. I wonder why July is its own month. That's interesting. It's 8 to 1, 2025 or later. 12 to 1, which again that would be a very dumb bet in my opinion to take. January to March 24, 50 to 1. Okay. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. I'm not going to look at individual seats on CPA for that. I think that's just I think it's kind of pointless. For now at least anyways. Maybe for by-elections it's worth it, but not for a GE. Anyways, there was a lot I wanted to discuss here. So we'll go and start discussing some of this stuff now. Which is... Actually, this really shouldn't be here. This clip should be over here somewhere. That's annoying. Okay. This might be the same, to be fair. Yeah, it might be the same. Interesting. We'll nix this one because it's a bit long. We'll go for this one. This is about the ICJ ruling. It's their preliminary ruling recently. Hi, Max. We're going to cover a lot of topics today. You can see how many tabs I've got open. What's the RAM usage like? Ooh, that's not good. It's 86, but we move. I've got some tabs on another screen I can close, to be fair. I have a lot open. So I did want to discuss the ICJ ruling on this. Let's have a look. Or the preliminary thing that they've released.
Well, I don't think anybody really expects the Israelis to comply with international law. They don't have a record of compliance or respect for international law. But we have to keep in mind that all the signatories of this convention...
I'm not... Okay, Max, this might be your first time here, okay, but we don't discuss the RAM usage. We need more guys, okay, I've discussed this before, okay? QA, you've been here before, you should know this, right? We don't discuss the RAM usage, okay? I brought it up this time, all right? I brought it up, that's on me. But we don't discuss the RAM usage, okay? Just, you know... If you want to help me buy a new computer, I am very much open to that, all right? But, you know, I have 16 gigs of RAM, and I'm going to use all 16. Okay, guys?
Are obliged to respect it, and they have clear obligations, not just under the convention, but under their own laws, their own national laws, and they have to make sure that they are not complicit in these crimes, that they're ensuring that these orders are being respected. And so there will be a lot of mechanisms that these orders trigger at the national levels for all the signatories of this convention, which is basically universally endorsed by the members of the United Nations. So
it's going to be quite interesting with this one because with this court specifically that South Africa have taken Israel to, I believe the enforcement relies on the United Nations Security Council, which are obviously not going to do anything. But I do wonder if another party could take their government to court over this stuff. Like, for example, could someone take the British government to court over this? Or the American government, if they're signatories to it? That would be quite interesting to see, because obviously those kind of court cases take a while, but I think that might be the best course of action from here.
A lot will happen in the aftermath of these orders. It's not just about the Security Council and whether the U.S. will suddenly have a change of heart and respect international law, even if it means holding Israel to account. It's also a test for all those signatories, for countries in Europe, in the West, in general, and beyond, whether the system really applies to everybody or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, then it really loses all meaning. Well,
one of the issues is that the United Nations Security Council, the United Nations is just a really badly built organization for a lot of reasons. It was designed to keep the powerful countries powerful. It's one of the main problems the League of Nations had as well, which I discussed before whilst I was playing Mario Kart on stream, and that didn't go well because instead of saying the League of Nations, I said the League of Legends, and that is probably one of my all-time favorite clips that I have on this channel. Maybe one day I'll dig it out, but the League of Nations had the same problem. Not the League of Legends though; that's built on might. So this from Jeremy Bowen. That's it from the BBC.
Ruled that South Africa has a plausible case, and that under it is. What they have said very clearly is this doesn't prejudge any further deliberations that they will make in the forthcoming months or even years.
They're not going to take notice, but do you know who might take notice, James? The governments when they're taken to court regarding these rulings, because each government, I think, the signatories of this the Genocide Convention, I think it is, they have an obligation not to be arming countries that are committing a genocide. So, it might not get Israel's attention, but it could get Britain's attention or America's attention, and that would affect them, given the fact that they are actively arming Israel.
Is, but what it does say very urgently, I think, adds up to a victory for South Africa's lawyers and a defeat for Israel's, in that she said very strongly, and that she gave the voting figures as well, that provisional measures, which Israel was hoping would be thrown out by the court, are operative, are important, and they include taking measures to prevent the commission of all acts, including killing members of the group, meaning the Palestinians, causing bodily and mental harm, physical destruction, preventing births.
And these are all things Israel has credibly been accused of doing.
No acts by the military of Israel should cause the above.
So, this ruling says that Israel should not be committing these actions, or should not be committing these actions. Effectively, these ones here.
Palestinians, causing bodily and mental harm, physical destruction, preventing births.
They've done that already by the disruptions in the hospitals. That by them attacking hospitals, they have disrupted births. So I can't see Israel winning their case overall in this court. I genuinely cannot see it for the life of me. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but I cannot see it. So we've covered her clip. This from Clive Lewis MP. Clive Lewis, the Labour leader we could have had, and we fumbled. The membership fumbled on this one, I think. It might have been the MPs that actually fumbled, because he didn't. I don't know if he got on the ballot or not, but this is the man we could have had leading the party. Clive Lewis saying, if the UK and US dismiss the ICJ ruling, this is those such double standards would play out across much of the world, according to the Chatham House think tank. The West cares about democracy, but not when it wants to install leaders it likes in other countries. It respects sovereignty, except when it does not, as in Iraq. It argues for self-determination in Taiwan, but not Catalonia. It supports human rights, but not in countries from which it needs oil. It defends human rights, except when it gets too difficult, as in Afghanistan. These accusations, if unanswered, give those countries that want to undermine the West a weapon, even if its own hypocrisy is luminous. In this context, dismissal of the ICJ would compound the problem. Please excuse the typos. The Chatham House is correct in this. Absolutely correct. And we go to the Knight on this subject.
I think is wise, and this is, we're always being asked to do this, is for politicians to sit looking at clips on social media or on programmes and forming instant judgments about whether it's a breach of this law or that. That doesn't seem to be wise. But
is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
Yes.
Yes.
What I've seen already amounts to war crimes, particularly the awful attacks on civilians. What I don't think...
Okay. Did want to discuss this about PPE. So one of the lawyers of Michelle Mone, who sent a false denial, I think it was to The Guardian originally. About her involvement in PPE MedPro, now wants an apology from her following an interview and is threatening to sue her. So this is what happened. Michelle Mone, I believe, allegedly, lied to her lawyer about her involvement in PPE MedPro, and when she gave that interview to Laura Kuenssberg, who, despite the fact that Laura Kuenssberg is a terrible journalist, one thing she does do is give people the space to talk, and if you're stupid enough to make dumb statements, then this is the kind of stuff that's going to happen. So, effectively, I think she allegedly lied to her lawyer. I'm not looking to get sued here. And her lawyer resigned over what she said on the Kuenssberg interview. What are these? And then is threatening her, because I think that's very damaging to his kind of professionalism. Kind of him as a lawyer. I think it impacts his image. Just looking at the betting odds at 0. The lowest betting odds for UK election be called. Yeah, it's not going to be. It's either going to be in the autumn, or it's going to be next year. I can't see it being in the summer. The government has written off 9.9 billion of the 13.6 billion it spent on PPE in the pandemic due to the gear being unusable or having lost its value. So the government has burnt almost 10 billion. Could you imagine if that money was actually invested in the economy, the amount of good it can do? Instead, they wasted it. They burnt 10 billion. Gone. Written off with a pen. Nuts. These guys are nuts. And Michelle Mone and her husband have 75 million of assets frozen from the frozen as the National Crime Agency investigates fraud. Assets include a 6-bedroom Belgravia townhouse, a country estate on the Isle of Man, and 15 bank accounts. If they were smarter, they would have got all their money out of the UK. Kind of like what some of the oligarchs did, but unluckily for her, she's not a Russian oligarch. So she's in a spot of bother here, I think. Her and her husband, anyways. But we'll see. We'll see what the NCA say. We'll see what actually happens with this. Switching gears again, I'm going to be talking a bit about the Brexit stuff regarding the increased costs associated with the import checks we're going to be doing. This guy's jokes.
Businesses facing increased costs. The rules are meant to protect biosecurity and
a bit of hiss on this, I apologise.
Diversity, and will impact flowers, cheese and dairy products as well as meat and fish. Our business correspondent Paul Kelso has more.
Winter blooms under the lights in a vast greenhouse near Amsterdam. This is the heart of the European flower trade, a market worth €9 billion a year to the Netherlands, almost $1 billion of which comes from the UK.
So, the Netherlands is very well known for tulips. They have really beautiful tulips. I might get some if I ever go again.
But for wholesalers like Hemskirk, the introduction of long-delayed Brexit checks at the UK border mean it's about to get more difficult and more expensive to do business.
So it is 100% checked, then it's coming to us. We check it now again.
And now someone comes to check it
goes in the truck, we have to check it again, and then in the UK, we check it again. But it's making an awful lot of costs, and somebody has to pay the bill at the end of the day. So I'm 100% sure that the last customer, the British consumer, has to pay for this.
The Dutch accent is I always find it very interesting. I don't know why.
From January the 31st, animal and plant products from the EU considered at medium risk of carrying pests or disease, including some flowers, milk, cheese and chilled or frozen meat and fish, will need a health certificate.
So that adds obviously a lot of cost and time. We've talked about it for exporting this stuff to the EU. I haven't seen kind of a British version of the process that it will take. The Guardian, I think it was the Guardian or one of the, maybe it was the British Meat Association, published a really nice graphic on all the steps it takes. And I did cover it at the time, I remember. It was quite interesting, all the steps you had to take to export meat and stuff to the EU. It's ridiculous.
From April the 30th.
And in terms of not for them to do all these checks, it makes sense, but for us to have made the decision we've made to lead us to the EU having to do checks on our goods, honestly.
Physical checks will be required on the same goods at the UK border. Among the species now considered a risk to Britain's biosecurity.
Look at these, Anne. Oh, these are well nice.
These orchids, planted before the Brexit vote and painstakingly raised to peak next month.
Yeah, these orchids require dyes as well to get them to this colour, I believe. So these are a lot of work to do. And so I just don't think the UK will be viable for export. And I can't see the UK's domestic flower production going up, given the fact that these flowers will need a decent amount of attention. And things like these greenhouses aren't viable in the UK anymore because of Brexit and the rising energy costs.
These orchids are ready to be harvested for Valentine's Day, but by the time they get to the UK, for the first time in decades, they will face border controls first, paperwork, in due course, physical
Oh no, Valentine's Day is ruined. How sad.
Inspection. Now, these measures have already been delayed 5 times, but now they're here. They're a whole new level of bureaucracy.
I'm amazed that Sunak's doing it now. I'm amazed Sunak's doing it now. I genuinely am shocked. I thought he would push this into next year and make it Labour's problem. And to be fair, that's probably the smart move to do. You are risking a health scare, but I wouldn't be surprised if they blamed the EU for that. It wouldn't be that hard to kind of con the British people into believing that it's the EU's fault that we have, whatever health scandal. Let's not forget, I think we blame the EU for the horse meat stuff. Anyways, also don't forget the EU will be taking fingerprints and photo checking. Yes, but we don't know when that's going to be implemented. But they pull it on the 30th of January. We'll see. We'll see about that because these things cost a lot of money, these checks. There are already a lot of problems with the ports having invested in infrastructure to do these checks, and then the government saying, psych.
And cost. Hours after they're cut, the Dutch flowers are in New Covent Garden Market in London, where reliable, fast supply, a whole new level of bureaucracy and cost. Hours after they're cut, the Dutch flowers are in New Covent Garden Market in London.
So within hours, they are here. That is a crazy turnaround time. That's a very crazy turnaround time, getting these to market that fast. And obviously, these don't last that long. I don't think they might last a couple of weeks, but they do require tending to, I believe.
Where reliable, fast supply is crucial. Wholesalers like Freddie think the new checks will add 20% to the price of his daily deliveries, but customs delay.
Rest in peace, the Mandem's wallet when it comes to Valentine's Day. Rest in peace, guys. Unlucky boys.
These could be ruinous.
We have orders coming in and going out in the early hours of the mornings. Very fast turnaround, reloading vehicles, redistributing orders. If we experience a 4-hour delay, that's going to dramatically change our business model. It only takes a small mistake for it to have a potentially catastrophic effect.
Literally, there were stories of people using like the wrong colour pen and stuff like that. These mistakes are so easy to make because it's just endless amounts of paperwork.
In the lead up to Valentine's.
This is what you'll not have anymore.
The British food industry thinks the changes stink too. La Fromagerie has been importing cheese from across Europe.
That is the most French-sounding thing ever.
For more than 40 years. Now a vet certificate will be required for every shipment from every supplier.
So the guy who runs Cheshire Cheese, he talked about this on his end. That I think he set up shop in France. That health certificates are needed. So these kind of small amounts, small consignments of cheese, won't be viable anymore.
Which means some may stop altogether.
We deal with, 1 or 2 guys in a dairy with 50 sheep. Do they want to be paying for this new certificate to send to us? I assure you that most of them will say no.
Government says the rules are crucial to preserve British biosecurity, but with common fruit and vegetables likely to be added to the checklist, they're an unpalatable price of Brexit for many.
This is all true, and a lot of people would say,
I'm not surprised.
Because honestly, we knew this. We knew this was going to happen. It's just this is. I think the full effect of Brexit is going to kick in when these checks are done. I don't know where we're going to get the staffing levels from. I'm baffled at that, considering Michael Gove said we need like 50,000 customs officers. That border is going to be completely blocked off, and I can imagine if you're one of the EU drivers, why the hell would you want to be blocked in queues twice? This is absolutely wild. We go to this clip here from ITV.
The price you pay for many fresh fruits and vegetables is about to go up. Post-Brexit rules will finally start to come into.
It was always going to happen. Honestly, it's surprising they got away with it for so long. I mean,
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised they got away with it for so long. Honestly, we were risking a massive health scandal, especially with like what's it called, African swine flu and stuff like that. It would only be a matter of time till it gets through to the UK. But honestly, I'm not surprised that they've gone away with it this long.
Force from next week, which will see costly checks imposed on imports from Europe. And trade bodies have told ITV News that will see price increases right across the UK. My business editor Joel Hills is here. So Joel, what exactly are going to be these checks? How much more are we going to be paying?
Well, look, let's take a step back first to remind people the government has postponed the introduction of extra paperwork and of border checks on plant and animal imports from the EU 5 times in the last 3 years since Brexit. It did so because it was worried that the news have been warning us this is going to affect price, choice, availability and shelf life of some goods. But then yesterday...
We've already seen that with the customs checks. We've already seen the lack of availability for like vegetables and stuff. It's going to get so much worse, isn't it?
DEFRA, on its website, updated and unexpectedly reclassified imports of many fruit and vegetable consignments from the EU from low risk to medium risk, which...
And, given the fact that DEFRA didn't communicate this properly by the sounds of it, it's going to catch a lot of importers off guard, which is going to make it more difficult to import this stuff. We already had tomato and pepper shortages last year. Nothing is sacred in this country, honestly. You can keep the lettuce, but the tomatoes and peppers, no, we can't be having that.
Which means that from the end of October, apples, pears, plums, peaches, strawberries, blueberries, grapes, raspberries, tomatoes, carrots, celery, sweet potatoes, many more, but not bananas, will require...
Okay, it makes sense. I don't think they really grow that many bananas in Europe. Since 2016, the UK have cut the budget of border force and ports. Last week, both were told the 2024 budget was going to be... Yeah, I genuinely, I don't know how they're going to do it, like, in terms of the logistics of it. I think that border is going to look a lot worse than the the trip from Calais to Dover. I think might be a lot worse than the trip from Dover to Calais.
Certificates and will be subject to border inspections. Around half of the food we eat is imported. Most of that is from the EU. In 2022, we imported £3 billion of vegetables, for example. I think we can see
and I think that percentage of us importing food is only going to go up because farming in this country is dying.
There, 79% of it was from the European Union. In the same year, we imported £4.5 billion worth of fruit. Just under 40% of that was from the EU, mostly from Spain, Holland and from France. Now, the Fresh Produce Consortium estimates that these new controls for those imports will add £200 million to the cost of bringing them into the UK. And what they're saying is that will be passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. And
this is going to spike inflation. Rishi Sunak's celebrating, I halved inflation. It's going straight back up.
Their members, as a result, will struggle.
The businesses which will be hardest hit will be your local businesses, your local wholesaler.
It doesn't end. Every day is hell.
Who offers that great quality service to your local cafe, your local restaurant, your hotel, your school and your hospital. They are the businesses that are the backbone of our industry.
Tonight, a spokesman said the government is committed to delivering the most advanced border in the world. That the
Oh yeah, it's going to be the best, world-beating, tremendous. Believe me, we've heard all this nonsense before. They're going to cut the checks overall, so they're going to do less checks on all goods coming in. But if they'd planned that from the start, I don't think we'd be in such a mess. But this is baffling.
Paperwork and the border checks are key to protecting the UK's biosecurity, and that the government will support businesses to ensure the efficient trade of fruit and vegetables is
Support businesses? How? They barely offered any business support, honestly. I don't get how they're going to do this. There are a couple of trade experts that would be worth talking to about this. There was one I tried to get on last year, but it just didn't happen. But hopefully I'll try again this year when I have more time.
Contained between the EU and Britain, but the government doesn't deny prices will rise and isn't challenging the figure of £200 million.
I do wonder how they're going to blame the EU for this one, or who they're going to blame for it. Maybe they'll blame Vladimir Putin or something. Who knows? But this is ridiculous. When gas peaked 2 years ago, the UK's biggest farm grower saw its gas price went from 250,000 to 12 million. When the government said no help, they saw. Yeah, I remember that. I covered that, I think, at the time as one of the things I covered, where one of the the big greenhouses. Where is it? It's in. I think it might be in Kent. They just sold up. They sold up because it was not viable. It was not viable at all. New Brexit border controls will leave British consumer and businesses facing more than £500 million in increased costs and possible delays, as well as shortages of food and fresh flowers imported from the EU. It's going to end up like kitchen nightmares when Gordon orders something and they were like, we don't have that. That's what's going to happen here. And this from Jacob Rees-Moggy.
There's nothing to be fearful about leaving on WTO terms. What can I see? I can see the opportunities of cheaper food, clothing and footwear, helping most of all the incomes of the least well-off in our society.
Absolutely nobody agrees with you.
We can cut tariffs, we can reduce costs to people.
Absolutely nobody agrees with you. Even the Sun newspaper withdrew these claims.
Exciting. It's a great opportunity. It is freedom for the British people. It is no longer...
This guy sounds like a wrestler giving a promo, honestly, just not being interrupted.
Called to the failed economic model of the European Union, which has the euro and high unemployment and even Germany going into recession. It is a wonderful opportunity for...
To be fair, I don't think Germany went into recession.
Our nation. You should rejoice and be proud at what our country can do.
I was hoping to have reasons for rejoicing at the end of this conversation, so I'll ask you one final time. The economic modelling that you rely upon has been discredited so badly that even the Sun withdrew it. Why do you persist?
That's not true. The advice I take is from economists for free trade and
Patrick Minford,
who has the best track record of almost...
He has not got a good track record.
...any forecaster you can find in this country, and that cutting tariffs does cut prices. That's unquestionably true.
Patrick Minford, let me just write that down. Patrick Minford has the best reputation for economic forecasting.
He got the exchange rate mechanism right, he got the euro right. His record in this field...
Gordon Brown got the euro right. So Jacob Rees-Mogg is the gentleman that said, for Brexit to succeed, agriculture and industry will be decimated in this country.
That's what Minford said.
It decimated.
But he said that, and he's the man you're citing.
That actually it will be an opportunity for us to be more competitive.
It is kind of incredible. He managed to cite all of the best aspects of what Minford said, and then omit the worst things that Minford said.
To be clear, he's the man you're citing, and those are his words.
You're taking one very selective quotation from him.
And Mog is doing the exact thing he's accusing of Brian of, taking one selective quotation.
He's actually saying that there's a real economic opportunity.
Did he or did he not say that?
And we'll get fast
did he not say that manufacturing industry and agriculture would be more or less destroyed?
You've got to put what he said.
Yeah, I didn't either, Nick. It just happened. Just getting an ads delivery and the shop ran out of broccoli and they swapped for white cabbage. To be fair, anything apart from Brussels sprouts, anything's better than broccoli. So it's a big win there.
Full context of the economic growth that we will.
Did he or did he not say that agriculture and industry would be destroyed?
I think as I refer you to the answer I've just given.
Yeah, I mean this is painful. But you can see here, talking about the import costs, Jacob Rees-Mogg saying this is really stupid and is why I strongly opposed it as Brexit Opportunities Minister. You know, given the fact that the UK is risking a massive health problem with some of the food that we're importing because it's not being checked, and also we're missing out a lot on things like customs fees and other things. This is not the win Mogg was looking for. I'll be honest. Sorry, I didn't realise that was the full clip being played.
Border capacity, aren't we?
But when it comes to freedom of movement of the kind we currently have with the rest of the EU, that is plainly not
get turnips. No, we ran out of turnips last time. Don't get turnips.
Going to work.
Freedom of movement will end next year when we leave the European Union.
I have a particular responsibility when it comes to taking back control. It is to end the free movement of people.
And how did that work out for us? France's 90-day visa hell as Brits forced to sell their homes over crazy EU rules, even though these are WTO rules, and they wanted a WTO Brexit. Your country needs you. Vote leave today. Make Britain great. Ending free movement, a pivotal part of Brexit. It's awkward now, isn't it? It's awkward. And that's the Mogg tweet. He wanted to exit on WTO terms. I think that's something the Express pushed as well. And they don't want to implement WTO rules. Surprising, isn't it? Just to kind of switch gears again, we're going to be discussing the plot to get rid of Rishi Sunak and put someone else in. Who the someone else is, I don't know. So let's start with this.
The person whose fingerprints have been close to this is Lord David Frost, and we understand he got a
the clips this guy uploads for Farouk, he's quite good, but I don't know why they've always got such a weird hiss to him.
Dressing down, or at least talking to by the whips. Do you think he should be kicked out of the party?
Well, I think if he is actively proved, I mean, it's one thing...
Let me know if the audio hiss is that bad. Let me know.
Having rumours about somebody, you've got to have positive proof. If there were positive proof that an individual was engaging in activity that was not compatible with the Conservatives gaining a victory at the next election, yes, I would expect disciplinary action to be taken against them.
So what he's saying is, Lord Frost, if Frost is involved in this plot, he needs to go, right? I hate you, Elon. You ruined one of my favourite websites.
Yeah.
Honestly. So this is the plot. So this is Sam Coates is quite, I think, well plugged in for Tory Party. This is at acceptable levels. We take that.
As it might seem in election year, once again there is a plot, an attempt to unseat the Prime Minister by
maybe too posh though. I hope that's not aimed at Faisal Islam.
Fellow Conservatives, the very people he's trying to get re-elected. This group, mostly working for free, believe the pain, the chaos of changing leader for a third time in this parliament would be better for the Conservatives on election day than sticking with Rishi Sunak. And we know that because supporters of Rishi Sunak came up with a plan to flush out plotters, to unsettle them, to start...
I love these boards. CoffeeZilla did a really cool one. I love these pin boards.
Dripping out names, starting with the youngest, the man people around Whitehall refer to as the young Dominic Cummings.
I don't know what he's doing, but for some reason the clips he's uploaded recently, he is very helpful because especially as I am incorrigible, has stopped doing it, like uploading clips and stuff. And Haggis is quite good, but like I don't know what's going on with Farouk's uploads.
This is Will Dry, brilliant, obsessive, determined. And that's just the view of the officials that he worked with. He's only 25, but he's been on a hell...
Blood younger than me.
...of a political journey. We've interviewed him on Sky when he was campaigning for a second referendum. Just watch this.
Hi, I'm Will Dry, and I'm co-founder of Our Future, Our Choice, which is a group of young people calling for a people's vote on Brexit.
But despite what you just saw, he still worked for Michael Gove and then Rishi Sunak in number 10 as his pollster.
Probably good at his job then.
But quit just before the new year. He wrote, "I resigned before Christmas after steadily becoming more dispirited. Everyone in this country can see just how colossal the challenges that we face are. Sadly, it became clear to me we weren't providing the bold, decisive action required to overcome those challenges." This gave the plot fresh momentum. Hours after this, the man on the left went public.
Simon Clarke.
Simon Clarke said that the Tories under Rishi Sunak were meekly sleepwalking towards avoidable annihilation. And
he said that publicly on the BBC. You know, he says, like, no one wants to be the guy who calls out iceberg or something like that.
Joined Andrea Jenkins here, who called for him to go in November. Now, nobody else has gone public, but I understand the plotters aren't worried about a lack of momentum. They just think the spectacle of Tory MPs tearing into the Prime Minister on the news in such great length at this stage is enough. Now,
and, you know, Andrea Jenkins has been one of the ones leading the line on there. Why does this keep happening? Has been leading the line against Rishi Sunak as well. She wanted Boris Johnson back, and she did not get her own way, and so she's still doing it.
We first thought that there was a plot afoot because of this, last week's mega poll, seat by seat, showing the scale of the impending...
The current number of Conservative MPs, then at the Do Not Know, Do Not Care and other groups, it looks like the max vote from the faction's going to get 58 votes each. What?
Facing the Conservative Party, and all given the seal of approval by the darling of the Tory right, Lord David Frost. Now, the YouGov poll was paid for, we're told, by the Conservative Britain Alliance, a mysterious group of disaffected Tory donors. Unhappy donors cause trouble. Just ask Boris Johnson and Liz Truss. And from the moment it came out, Tory headquarters has been desperate to know exactly who or they are. But the real problem is these people, disaffected Tory MPs. We know
Mark Francis and I can't remember who that geezer is.
From just last week, 60 of them are unhappy enough to defy the Prime Minister in the voting lobbies, and that's more than the 53 letters of no confidence needed to trigger a ballot on his leadership. And we also know that this plot is MP-led, and they think time is on their side.
And, you know, with Tory MPs, a lot of MPs, the thing they care about most is keeping their seat. What, you know, if you lose your seat, it's over. Your career's done. Start learning something else, buddy, because you're done. You know, maybe you can join a think tank if you got a big name, or some other organisation. But I think it's 85 Gs or whatever it is, gone, and that means no second job as well. So there's a reason why MPs are obsessed with self-preservation.
Now, I know the plotters' plan. It's a war of attrition against Rishi Sunak. They think the polls won't improve. They think...
And, you know, I reckon someone's briefed him on this. Someone in the Tory party, in this organisation, has briefed him on this. So it amplifies their message. It makes a lot of sense to do it. There's no way someone in Sunak's team or anyone who wants Sunak to stay in charge has done this.
The Prime Minister won't seize the moment, and drip, 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 events will help them every step of the way. Possible February 15th by-election losses. Will the March 6th budget be underwhelming? Will the Rwanda bill cause more pain in the Commons? Then there's the May 2nd local and mayoral elections. Drip.
Let's go through each one of these. This is quite interesting. So they're looking for a trigger point, really.
We also know that this plot is MP-led, and they think time is on their side. Now, I know the plotters' plan. It's a war of attrition against Rishi Sunak. They think the polls won't improve. They think the Prime Minister won't seize the moment, and drip, 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 events will help them every step of the way. Possible February 15th by-election losses.
So that's the one. I think that might be Peter Bone's former constituency, Wellingborough.
Will the March 6th budget be underwhelming?
I think it will be underwhelming. I think they're trying to get a tax cut, but they don't know where to take the money from because they haven't got it through growth. So that's I think it's very possible it's going to be underwhelming. From what I've read, though, and I think I've got the tweet up somewhere, Rishi Sunak is looking to increase the numbers needed for a no-confidence vote, but I think that power still exists within the 1922 committee. Truss and Mogg forming the Popcons. What?
Will the Rwanda bill cause more pain in the Commons? Then there...
To be fair, the Rwanda bill made it through the Commons. It's in the Lords, I believe, so that's where it could be interesting.
It's the May 2nd local and mayoral elections.
I don't think the Tories will care about the mayoral elections that much, because of the fact that they haven't won it since Boris Johnson. So what was the other one he said?
Then there's the May 2nd local and mayoral elections.
The local elections could be quite interesting, but again, the Tories will make the argument of, well, it's always local elections are used to give the government of the day a bloody nose and blah 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 blah.
Elections drip.
You shouldn't be looking into local elections as like some sort of glorious prediction thing.
Drip bang is what they say. The plotters aren't sure their plan will work, but they think the Tory party is dicing with extinction if they don't give it a go. So better to try, whatever the pain threshold this endeavour requires. But can he really withstand 11 months of this?
No, I don't think he can. I don't think he wants to either. I don't think he got that dog in him. I think we're gonna see them smoking the Sunak pack. Honestly, I just can't see it going well for him. Apparently, Sunak's wife has been deployed as his secret weapon to connect with voters and humanise him through door-to-door campaigning. I mean, how is anyone going to relate to a billionaire? Honestly, all right, I would want to see this. I would love to see her go door-to-door and talk about how great Rishi Sunak is. I'd love to see it. If this happens, I will be there no matter what, just to laugh at it. The 1922 committee has rejected this proposal. Only 52 letters will be required for a no confidence vote. So Sunak did try to get the rules changed, apparently. So it would require 174 votes, letters, not 52, but that's not happened. So that's going to be interesting. He seems like he's quite scared. And we've got this from Sky.
Hello, good evening. It's hard to overstate just how bad things are looking for the Conservatives right now. As an election approaches,
I mean, they're cooked. They're absolutely cooked. They should
start praying, boy.
Honestly, they are. It's over. It's over for them. Ben Bradley forming the blue collar. Nah. You kidding? Nah. I'm not. Nah. No way. It's. It's game over, boys. It's game over. Let's be honest. The blue collar Conservatives. Okay, that's got to be satire there.
Wisdom is that the polls should narrow. Well, if anything, the Labour lead is widening, and something else is going on too. Something quite significant. You see, when Rishi Sunak first became Prime Minister...
Oh, yeah, just a quick mention, actually, before I forget. I don't know if Max is still here, but I was on Sunday Roast again. I'll put a community post up about it later, or tomorrow. I was on Sunday Roast again, so have a look at that. Nick Wilson, I promise I'm not winding up. I'll have to see this for myself.
In the days of his swishy videos with hoodies and sliders, he was seen as an asset to the damaged brand of the Conservative Party.
I think what he tried to portray is a Prime Minister working hard and putting the extra hours in to get things done.
But now that's changed. In October, according to polling by More in Common, 37% said Rishi Sunak was an asset to the Conservatives, 33% didn't. But
that's not great, is it?
In January, it's more than flipped. Only 26% see Sunak as an asset, and 43% say he isn't.
I think when MPs, if you reach the age of like 70, you should just retire from politics. Like, what more do you have to do, honestly?
So you can see why some Conservatives are questioning whether a presidential-style election campaign with Rishi Sunak as a focus is a good idea.
It's they have this thing in America, it's called the Rose Garden strategy, where the president doesn't really go out much and just pretends they're working hard and things like that. That strategy is not going to work for Sunak because people know the country's not doing well, and so for him to try and pretend that he's doing a great job is simply not going to work. He really needs to.
I'm about to kick this battle up a notch.
He's really got to pick it up a bit here because he's in trouble. He's in big trouble, I think.
And some more restless party members might feel like there's nothing to lose with a change of leader. Things can't get any worse. Now, the MP, Simon Clarke, an ally of Liz Truss, is one calling for...
Yo, imagine being an ally of Liz Truss. I'm finished. She's the one that cooked the economy.
...for the PM to go.
Well, she did a lot of damage to the economy, let's be honest now.
No one likes the guy who's shouting iceberg, he said. But I suspect that people will be even less happy if we hit the iceberg.
Simon Clarke thinks he's General Shepherd.
That's right.
Oh, wait, no, that's not it. Oh, no, I've got so many buttons on this. Oh, no, where is it? Ah, there it is.
I know you understand.
Simon Clarke stood there with the revolver, talking about his ideals and why he had to do this.
As one political hat put it, I think if I was such a strong supporter of the PM outlived by a lettuce, I'd be careful about being the guy who shouts iceberg.
Oof. Ooh, that's a burn. To be fair, warranted given he was such a strong Liz Truss ally. I would not. He's not the guy to be doing this. Let's be honest.
Simon Clarke's one-man rebellion sparked more ridicule than revolution this week, and Westminster moved on.
I don't know if that's true. I don't think it has moved on. I think there's a much bigger plot than this, and we saw that in the Sam Coates video. I think it's a much bigger plot than just Simon Clarke. I think they're going to see how well Simon Clarke does. But we've got inside the plot to oust Rishi Sunak. Former number 10 aides responsible for polling joined the rebels. We know that. Suella Braverman, former Home Secretary, said to be among those pushing for a change of leader. Probably wants to have a go at it herself. A former dozen advisors and around 10 MPs said to be involved, and includes some members of the New Conservatives. So their strategy is simple. They think the polls won't move. The mood of the party is bad. They argue change of leader is better than sticking the course. Sunak allies think their strategy has backfired. If anything, this has had a galvanising effect. It's brought people together. They pulled the trigger, tried, and failed. I mean, have they though? They haven't done anything. They galvanised no one. Yeah, I miss Dennis Skinner as well.
Massively play it down, saying nobody.
Oops. Sam, how serious is this plot?
So I think over the last few days, allies of Rishi Sunak have been trying to massively play it down, saying nobody seemed to follow Simon Clarke. It's a few people here and there. The vast majority of the Conservative Party clearly behind Rishi Sunak. It's really serious. It's really serious for two reasons.
It's really interesting that he's saying it's very serious, and it looks like Ridge is downplaying it. I think someone's briefed Sam Coates on this. Someone in that group has told him this is we're making big moves here.
First of all, we know there are quite a lot of people who, whilst not prepared to do it now, are prepared to challenge the Prime Minister. We saw that in the voting lobbies. And secondly, I think it's serious because of what we're not seeing from Rishi Sunak. There's a vacuum. There's a big vacuum that Tory MPs feel of in the place of a Prime Minister who could be setting the agenda, leading from the front, changing the conversation to the betterment of the Conservative Party. It's not happening. And whether it's the lack of announcements, the lack of visibility, the lack of being able to change things for the better, nothing that Rishi Sunak has done this week has particularly taken off, gone well.
Nothing Rishi Sunak has done since he became Prime Minister has gone well. Honestly, when he was Chancellor, he got a lot more love because he made a lot of bad decisions, and a lot that he's probably regretting now. But the only one, I think one of the few good things he did was the furlough scheme. He got a lot of credit for. Since he became Prime Minister, he's done nothing of merit, nothing to earn any credit, honestly.
Government has made a mark. You end up having the weird spectacle of the Conservative Party following Labour policy announcements on things like knife crime, and all of this is causing jitters, and there's so little in the...
Like I said, they can only get 58 votes at the most, no confidence in the PM. Not sure if other groups will back a change. I don't know if they will, because their big problem will be who do they unite behind. It might be the case they do the same trick they pulled in Brexit, where they get rid of the leader and then they try and fight it out from there. Maybe that's what they'll do. That's probably the smarter option. But for now, at least, it's just they need someone to lead their little rebellion, but they don't have anyone. And so that's going to be the thing that caused them the biggest problems, because they can't allow another Liz Truss situation. That's why they that's why they set up the rules so Rishi Sunak got in the way he got in.
Calendar, and because we are coming up to an election, there aren't big bills, there aren't big moments in Parliament beyond the Rwanda project and the budget really to point to. And without that sense of leadership, that's where I think kind of discontent could grow. The assumption of the plotters is the problem is Rishi Sunak himself, and that people will see it. We'll see if that's right.
Sunak has left a void, to be fair, but I think he must not think this thing's serious. He must be sure of himself, but I wonder if he's left himself if he's not in a strong position like he thinks he is.
Either a one-man kamikaze mission, or it's the start of a new right-wing Tory mutiny against Mr Sunak and an attempt to remove him. This is Sir Simon Clarke writing in the Daily Telegraph. Devastating onslaught against Mr Sunak. He talks about how the Tories are on the brink of being run by... the country's on the brink of being run by Labour for a decade. If Nigel Farage returns, as looks likely, extinction's a possibility. And of Mr Sunak, his uninspiring leadership is the main obstacle to our recovery. He's sadly gone from asset to anchor. He goes on to say... he goes on to say he does not get what Britain needs, and he's not listening to what the British people want. He says,
what do the British people want? What do they think we actually want?
I sadly believe there's nothing he can do.
He's not a millionaire, to be fair. He's a billionaire, isn't he?
To win back,
bro's got Bruce Wayne money.
The trust of key voters who've left the Tory party. And he says if we change the leader to a prime minister who shares the instincts of the majority, we'll recover strongly in 2024.
Oh, okay, buddy, yeah. Who has strong instincts. And this man's capping so hard. Hi, Mithril. This man's capping so hard.
To a better leader, that'd be better than Sir Keir Starmer. Now, he says, a
better leader. Who in the Tory party, like, a general question, yeah, who in the Tory party is actually would make a competent leader? Genuine question.
No, many MPs to find another change of leader ridiculous. But what would be more ridiculous than sleepwalking towards annihilation? He says there could be a quick contest, and he says we have a clear choice: stick with Rishi and face the inevitable consequences, or change leader, give our country and party a fighting chance.
A fighting chance with who? For what? Like, I genuinely, Simon Clarke makes no sense. A guy who backed Liz Truss, absolute moron. Imagine this guy leading your rebellion. Honestly.
So far, he's attracted no support from MPs, senior Tories, David Davis.
Thanks, Mithril. I really appreciate it. Thanks for gifting the memberships. It really helps the channel. It goes a long way.
Liam Fox and Damien Green and Priti Patel have attacked him strongly tonight. Priti Patel accuses him of facile and divisive self-indulgence.
Imagine Priti Patel saying, "Nah, you're a scumbag." Imagine being dissed. Imagine being dissed by Priti Patel. Imagine.
That is the majority view. It's the talk of Westminster tonight. Tory civil war back on.
Let's go, Tory civil war. We love to see it. The only kind of civil war we respect. I mentioned this before. Wait, how did this get over here? Have I got duplicate tabs open? Oh, possible. Sorry, bear with me as my brain melts because I'm seeing duplicates. I must have moved it around a bit. What? How did that get there? Yeah, I've got duplicate tabs open. Okay, that makes sense. Means I can nick some. This is it. No one likes the guy shouting iceberg.
One likes the guy who's shouting iceberg.
Are you surprised that there haven't been any other colleagues today publicly articulating a similar argument to yours? You're on your own.
Well, I think in many ways I always expected that this would be the start of a conversation. I've incurred some pretty hostile...
If I was doing it, I'll withdraw the whip from this guy. I would. I would honestly kick him out of the party.
Comments from a number of people, and look, I'm a, you know...
They could do, QA, to be fair. They don't like backing losers. And there's not many bigger losers than Sunak.
I mean, in every sense, I'm a big guy. I can take that. And I totally respect the strong views that something like this evokes, right? No one likes the guy who's shouting iceberg. But I suspect that people will be even less happy if we hit the iceberg. And we are on course to do that. I think that is the point which I just need to land with colleagues respectfully.
I think what he's going to do is they're going to lose and he's going to say, "I told you so." I think because there's no one in the Tory party that can win them an election. So I think that's going to be the problem he's going to run into. Let's see if there's anything more I want to discuss here. Yeah, this from Nick Watt.
Is this an operation by Conservative MPs? Possibly will we see some ministers saying, we don't have any evidence of that. So we don't know the answer to that question. Although what we do know is that the right have tried to rebel against Rishi Sunak. They only got 24 abstentions on the second reading of the Rwanda bill in December, and then only 11 votes so against the third reading last week. So we know that at the moment they have quite a lot of bark, but not much bite. But what we do know is there is a big operation going on behind the scenes to bring him down. There's this new group called the Conservative Britain Alliance who've been paying for these big polls in the...
They're quite interesting, is their intent, because I think Phil mentioned it a while ago. Have you seen the footage of Palestinian champ who's lost it? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. He said he lost his family were killed in an airstrike, and I think it was the police or whoever's running security. They just grabbed him and just threw him out. There were some other. I think there were two ladies there as well. It was a very ugly scene. A very ugly scene. I don't think Rayner's response to it was good at all. I'll be honest. It was a really bad response.
in the Daily Telegraph, there was a big MRP poll. David Frost, Boris Johnson's former advisor.
But to be fair, I've lost a lot of respect for Rayna anyways, you know, genuinely with what she's done.
I fail to see the logic here. Senate. The price to pay for power.
Because honestly, right, she was trying to argue that, I think she was trying to argue recently that the boycott, you know, the BDS campaign was anti-Semitic, and I guess her source must have been Senator Armstrong on that one.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Because genuinely, right, I don't know what the hell she was talking about. Imagine using peaceful means and then being told, oh, that's anti-Semitic. Like, bro, what do you want people to do then?
He has been fronting that. They had that big MRP poll the other day that said the Conservatives face wipeout. They've now got another poll tonight in which they say who would be the better person to lead the Conservative Party? Who would be the better Prime Minister? Is it Keir Starmer, or is it, as they say, a Tory leader who followed core Conservative values? And Rob Ford...
the first question is, who are... what are core Conservative values? That's the real question. What are core Conservative values, and who is the mythical leader that will push that? Labour handled that situation appallingly, but the Labour social crowd will defend it, saying they have to appear electable, which is a dreadful response, locking them into shocking. I mean, to be fair, they're not going to address it. Let's be real now. The only way they're going to address it if someone pushed it in a super chat, and they're going to say, well, you know, Labour have to win power to get anything through. So you're right, they are going to use the argument, but they won't address it unless it's in a super chat, honestly. Let's see, you have to keep reminding yourself that Conservatives have a 70-plus majority. I mean, Sunak's like an alien being from another planet. I mean, yeah, he's got big Ed Miliband 2015 vibes. We're supposed to sit down and shut up. The grown-ups are in charge of Labour now. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's kind of the approach people have taken. Boycott of Israeli goods and services goes back to, it's the PDS campaign. It was created by, I think, Palestinians to try and protest peacefully. At least.
Ford, who's a pollster, he says that is honestly one of the worst polling questions he's ever seen. But
that's one of the worst polling questions. It was designed to get a specific answer.
Clearly, there is a big operation to bring Rishi Sunak down. It is.
So there we go. We've got many different answers from many different journalists here. You got Nick Watt, who's very well connected in politics, saying that this is a big plot. You've got Sophie Ridge kind of downplaying it, but you had Sam Coates kind of saying it's a very serious plot. So it'd be interesting to see how this one plays out.
We do know is
he's got a weird hiss on his videos, Farouk. I don't know what's going on with Farouk. Maybe I don't know if he's got open DMs, but I'll have to message him about it. Let's see. Oh, did I organise this? I want to do some question time stuff. Yeah, I think I did. Alright, I'm running out of time anyways. I've got about like 15 minutes left to end the stream, so I did want to discuss the Tories getting laughed at in question time. Bet you this got that weird hiss as well.
The truth is that Rishi Sunak has been doing an incredibly good job in very, very difficult circumstances.
Probably about 5 people who laughed there. Imagine telling people, oh yeah, Sunak's doing great, and then you're just getting absolutely laughed at. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, you hear me out. So this is probably
Leighton Cook.
Why do you think people are laughing?
I'm just going to finish what I'm saying. This is.
Why are people laughing? It's like, I'm gonna ignore the laughter and I'm gonna carry on with what I was trying to say originally before the laughter.
This has been.
You got laughed at again?
The most challenging parliaments, I think, in any of our lifetimes.
Yeah, that's why it's a ridiculous question. A difficult job of doing nothing and taking credit for it, which is what he's tried to do. Question time and government got slaughtered. Yeah, this was a shocking display.
We have had the biggest health crisis in 100 years. We've had the first war in Europe since 1945. We've had the biggest energy...
Wait, what? The first war in Europe since 1945? Did Kosovo not happen? Wait, what?
War in Europe since 1940. The biggest health crisis in 100 years. We've had the first war in Europe since...
Wow, Kosovo, Serbia didn't happen then, I guess. That whole situation never happened. Nice.
1945. Had the biggest energy...
Yeah, I think she's trying to play the loyal general, but I don't know what the hell's going on there. Who keeps pressing the 100 button?
Crisis since the 1970s, the highest inflation since the 1980s, and it's been tough. It has been tough. And do you know what? The IMF says that the UK is going to grow faster than Japan, faster than Germany.
Japan's always been a weird economy when it comes to growth. I think, of course, Kosovo didn't happen. Yeah, I suppose. And they always cite Germany, but they never talk about France, which is also a G7 country that is bigger than ours.
Germany faster than France.
Wait, are we on track to grow faster than France? Maybe I'm wrong.
Than Italy. Our economy is recovering, and one of the main reasons for that.
Got debunked there real quick. I did. Me agree with you 100%. Nice.
Is Rishi Sunak. The job that he did when he was in the...
And where did our economy start from? Did it start from a lower point than France, Italy and Germany, I wonder?
Treasury, with furlough, the plan that he brought in when he became Prime Minister to bring down inflation now more than halved, to grow the economy and give us the space to cut taxes so that we can grow the economy.
There's no space to cut taxes. There's no money for it.
Further. I think that he has done a really good job in difficult circumstances. And I think when it gets to the election, when it's not about polls anymore, when it's about people having to decide who's got a plan for the next 5 years...
The answer is not Rishi Sunak.
They'll choose Rishi Sunak over Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, who, quite frankly, have no plan for the country at all.
I mean, they do have some plans, so we're not really 100% sure what the hell's going on, I'll be honest. Asking what policy reduced inflation. To be fair, their argument is, by not doing anything, inflation halved on its own. Had they actually given people financial help, then it would have caused more inflation. That's their whole argument. But we're going to see a big spike in inflation due to the Brexit checks.
Okay.
And the rest was silence, apparently.
There was someone clapping there. So if you want to clap, you can clap. If you don't, obviously, I don't want people intimidated. They can't express their views. So let me come back. Why is that not cutting through? Certainly with quite a bit of the audience here, people were laughing at that.
You'll have to ask them. But I'm
sure they'll tell us. But I'm just wondering what you think.
I think that we have been in power a long time and we've had a lot to deal with. But I think when you look at where the country has been and where it's going, it's obvious that the right decisions have been made. We're seeing.
Okay, now you've made that point in fairness. Yes. Okay. All right. No. But you don't need to say it twice. That's all. But
I was going to say something different.
Okay. No. In that case, no.
It's not, and it's not just the economy. It's the fact that our standard.
This is kind of embarrassing, to be honest. It's very weird, and they got absolutely rinsed.
You would need to be pretty far removed to think that Rishi Sunak or this government has done well in the past 5 years, let alone the past 14 years, which has felt like, a 14-year-long episode of The Thick of It.
It really has. It really has felt like a very long season of The Thick of It, given everything that's happened.
You can't run on the roads because there are so many potholes. We spoke about that earlier.
There are people suing councils over damage caused by potholes.
You can't run on NHS waiting times because they're terrible.
True.
You can't run on the economy. So I think it's quite worrying when the Prime Minister is openly saying, oh yeah, we're doing all these really, really great things, but it's really obvious by the stats and just by everything that's just not true, is it?
That guy should win the award of Question Time Audience Member of the Year.
14 years. Okay, the NHS is now broken. Councils are broke. The water companies are taking record profits while they poison our rivers. There's global profits from UK-based companies.
Even Reagan.
That aren't paying half their taxes. And you're saying that the Tories have done a great job over 40 years and are going to continue to do it. I'm sorry, sir, but you're deluded.
I think the truth is that Rishi Sunak has been doing an incredibly good job in very, very difficult circumstances.
I wonder if that was a direct response to they edit it. I don't know if that was a direct response to him, but that's not a fun time for the Tories. Let's leave that out. We'll start with that. We'll go with that one.
Years. I've done a great job.
See.
There are many of you who voted Conservative in 2019, and I know a number of you who also intend to vote Conservative the next election. So in the interest of balance, because I know there's a lot of hands up of people who clearly want to have a go at the government, and we'll hear from you.
I think this is Tory constituency, to be fair.
Again as well. So anyone here who wants to speak up for Rishi Sunak or speak up for the government? There are many...
One person stuck their hand up. That's not great, is it? This from Ma talking about poverty. The true picture was all around us. It's a national disgrace, which is true.
The true picture all around us, day in, day out, is a national disgrace. Today, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation produced its 2024 UK Poverty Report. This is good work, and I'm going to give you some highlights because I think we all need to hear them. Since last year's report, the Rowntree researchers say they have found even more evidence of the desperate measures that households are having to
France being India's best ally in Europe, that's quite interesting.
Take to get by under the high tides of insecurity that have washed over more and more people. Basic facts: in the last year for which firm figures are available, 2021 to 22, more than 1 in 5 people, that's 22%, were living in poverty, including 8 million working age adults and 4 million, or nearly 3 in 10, children.
And that's a shocking figure for any developed country to have so many children in poverty.
And it gets worse. Because of those, 6 million people were considered to be in very deep poverty with an income far below the standard poverty line. I hope you agree that this is deeply shameful. Now, you know, I am interested in illegal migration. I am quite interested in all those woke and gender issues, and I'm well aware of climate change. But when it comes to British domestic politics, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that matters as much as this.
And, you know, there are Tory MPs who will deflect and focus on the culture wars, focus on all the other nonsense, right? But the most important thing is that this country is failing. And it's been failing for a long time. It's not failing, not a failed state. A country like Syria would be a failed state, but a country that has as much wealth as this country has, to end up with people that live in such poverty is absolutely shameful, and is reflective of a country that just doesn't care about the people that really need the help the most. You can't hide the damage that's been done. You can distract. Yeah, that's true. That's what they're trying to do with focusing on, like, people crossing the channel and other things like that. That's all they're trying to do with that kind of stuff.
Come on, you might say, lighten up, Andrew. It's always been a bit like that. Poor are always with us, all that stuff. Not quite true. Back in the 60s and 70s, poverty levels were at around 14%. That is a lot lower.
Back when?
Poverty levels are always with us, all that stuff. Not quite true. Back in the 60s and 70s, poverty levels were at around 14%.
I do wonder what metrics they used to describe poverty back then.
That is a lot lower. For people of my generation, if you're trying to think back to the old chaotic 70s, well, levels of poverty today are around 50% higher than they were then. Poverty.
God damn, you know, this is why I get really pissed off at people who defend Labour, saying, defend Labour when they push austerity. It really pisses me off, because how are you expected to help the poorest in society when you're pushing austerity? And the argument of, well, Labour, you know, and I had this conversation with someone, and you're going to see it tomorrow if you watch the Sunday roast episode of Labour going to throw the fiscal rules out the window. It's like, okay, buddy. No, they're going to cement the conversation of austerity having to happen and fiscal rules and all this stuff. And once they get into power, they're gonna Steph Curry it right into a 3-pointer. Okay. We need a proper workers' party, get all the anti-cuts and community groups out there, present a real alternative. I think if we had a proportional representation system, it's doable. I genuinely do. This from Ben, I think it's Ben, Ben Kentish.
We start tonight by talking about a country in which there have been 13,000 diagnoses of malnutrition, 15,000 cases of rickets, and more than 150...
Scurvy's back, baby! Yeah, it's scurvy, rickets. The Victorian era illnesses, you know, I know we look at the Victorian era with, as some sort of great period of time, but, clearly people want the illnesses back. Cameron's government says stuff like this was mentioned, used to say the government will not recognise these figures. Yeah, I think I remember that.
Cases of scurvy diagnosed in the last 12 months alone. Now, you're probably thinking, what underdeveloped, poverty-stricken nation do these poor people live in? And the answer, you know where this is going, is ours. This is...
It's us. It is kind of funny when he puts it like that, and maybe that's why they should pay him the big bucks. But you know, this conversation's really because the country has the money. Let's be honest now.
I'm talking ideals.
That's what it goes back to in the end. It's about ideals.
It's us. This is our country. This is Britain in 2024, a country where tens of thousands of people are being diagnosed each year, it seems, with Victorian-era diseases of poverty and deprivation. And it's getting worse. It's getting far worse. For comparison, the number of people diagnosed with malnutrition in 2010, 3,500. Last year, 13,000, and even that is thought to be an enormous underestimate. Those figures coming from an LBC investigation, they come from a third of NHS trusts in this country. So you can extrapolate that the real figures are 3 times higher. Now, clearly, that begs some pretty major questions. How does a country with the 6th biggest economy in the world end up with tens of thousands of people each year being diagnosed with diseases that we thought or hoped had died out centuries ago?
Yeah, when it comes to scurvy, I don't know much about rickets. Scurvy is generally, I think, from a vitamin C deficiency. And, citrus isn't super expensive in the UK, but if you're in a position where you can't afford, citrus-based fruits, then it does show you that we are in a very precarious position as a country. These are basic things. People should not be surviving on a diet of things like bread and water. The return of these kind of illnesses is kind of crazy. They've been talking about this for a while, though. I think for a good couple of years that this stuff is coming back.
Scurvy, rickets, malnutrition.
What, did they have rickets back in the 60s? Or was it just during the Industrial Revolution era? I can't remember.
What's happened?
The Tories happened. We know what happened. We know what happened. Austerity happened. The Tories happened.
What do you put that down to?
It's not hard to figure that one out. That one's an easy one. This government minister accusing the BBC of bias.
He is biased.
Well, I am looking at this from the point of view of the Culture Secretary.
Yeah,
and,
the Cultural Secretary.
And,
so do you think they're biased?
And the evidence shows that there is a perception of bias in relation to the BBC.
What do you think? Do you think?
What she's saying is that that when asked is the BBC biased, she's saying, well, people perceive the BBC as biased, not the Tories. Neoliberalism, yeah, true, but it's the Tories that have pushed this stuff. It wasn't as bad under Labour. I don't think we had rickets and so poverty was still bad. When you read kind of Marcus Rashford's story, you realise that New Labour did fail a lot of people, but when you look at what this lot have done, it's incomparable. GB News, however, what? I discovered earlier that Lucy Fraser was once in charge of the courts.
As Culture Secretary, that the BBC is biased.
I think that on occasion it has been biased, yes.
In relation to what?
Well, this report isn't about incidents, but we have seen recently that it's had to apologise for its own reporting, for example, in relation to the attack in the hospital in Israel, so in Gaza.
What's the difference between mistake and bias, surely?
Well, I
think a lot of people made that mistake, to be fair.
There is a perception amongst the public.
A perception amongst the public. People think this. That's what she's trying to argue, that people think a certain way. I mean, the perception of the country is that people don't think the Conservative Party are doing a good job. So, should they have to be forced to change? Should we get rid of them?
That the BBC is biased, and as Culture Secretary, it's important that I look at that. I must say, these are issues that I have discussed with the BBC. They've taken on board.
Yeah, but I'm asking you about the evidence of bias. Where's the evidence?
The evidence of bias.
That's checkmate right there, I think. I don't think she's got it.
Bias is what audiences believe is the content of the BBC.
The evidence of bias is that the audience thinks this is real. Honestly, that is one of the most pathetic arguments I think I've ever heard in my life. This is so bad. It's so bad.
And
but that's
how
perception. That's not evidence. That's perception.
That is evidence.
If I perceive the sky to be red, does that make the sky then red? I genuinely. What is this? What is this?
It is evident. Impartiality is about perception of the things that are being broadcast by the BBC, and the evidence in relation to that perception is that
perception and evidence are different things.
The evidence from Ofcom, having done studies and questionnaires of the public, is that the BBC's ratings in relation to impartiality have gone down. And I and the BBC think that there is more that the BBC can do in order to improve that.
Which other broadcasters are you investigating? Which other broadcasters do you feel potentially are not impartial?
The reason we've done this review is because the BBC is in a special position.
Yeah, but I'm asking you which other broadcasters you think are not impartial.
My job as the Culture Secretary is to... it has a special role in relation to the BBC, and the reason for that...
She doesn't want to answer it because she knows the question. She knows GB News is not impartial. She knows that. This one's quite fun.
Already have priority for social housing. So what's... Kieran, UK families already have priority for social housing. So what's the problem that the government is trying to solve?
Well, I think this is just speculation at this stage. I don't think Downing Street's confirmed that there is any hard and fast policy in
Well,
development.
they're saying it's a consultation on this.
Well, as I said, I don't think they've actually confirmed there's any new policy necessarily. I think it's true to say that in different parts of the country there is a lot of variation that you see in terms of the occupation of social housing. It depends how local councils tend to implement.
The variation, does he mean what? Does he mean minorities are getting houses? Is that the problem? Like, there is a different variation, you know, like, what does he mean by that?
If there are parts of the country where we think it isn't working fairly, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that actually people who spent a long time in a country contributing to its welfare state in one way or another get some extra help, I don't have a problem with that in principle, but you'd have to see how it works in practice.
But the rules at the moment are that, I mean, 90%, these are government figures, 90% of new social housing lets go to UK nationals.
Yeah. As I said, it's a variation across the country. So there might be a positive national figure, but you do see in different parts of the country, London in particular, the figures aren't the same as you're talking about at a national level.
So who else is, you know, you said 90% of the houses are going to British nationals. What more do you want? Jen, do you want all the houses, all social housing to go to British nationals? What do you specifically want from this?
And so I think it's not wrong to say, let's look at how it's working at a local level. Can we do something to tweak that? And I don't have anything against the principle, which is that if you're part of a welfare state over a long period of time, you're paying into it over a long period of time. That you should.
How long's the period? And even then, you know, like, the argument of, you know, like, because people are paid into the welfare system, like, if you're age, say 16 or 18 and you're into social housing, should that person be looked down upon because they haven't contributed into the welfare system or the tax system? If anything, they've taken from it through their education. So the whole argument doesn't make sense of they've paid into the system.
You get some recognition for that.
Right, there is some variation in the figures. Kieran is right, and we can come on to an example in just a moment. But broadly speaking, what's your reaction to the consultation? It isn't policy, but a consultation.
The quickest backtrack I've ever heard, actually. But
well, I'm not the government, so I'm not backtracking the policy.
Yeah,
it's just
but it wasn't in development. It's consultation. We thought we were going to see something like this in the King's speech. In fact, it turned out to be pretty inadequate proposals on leasehold reform for some people. Already, if we take into account issues like if you live locally, if you've got family locally, if you're working, it's taken into account. And the only people that can have social housing...
That's the important stuff, you know, if you live locally, work locally, obviously you're going to want, you know, social housing kind of near where you're based, because then you won't have to change jobs or commute or anything like that, and you can stay probably where your family members are or where your friends are, you know, your support structure. It makes sense.
People are UK citizens and people have a right to be here. So the problem the government needs to
solve, you know, UK nationals and UK residents,
isn't who gets social housing, but how much social housing there is and how
that's the key. Yeah,
much building and lack of building there has been. That's why I think the Labour Party, to be honest, one of these issues that keeps, I think, a lot of politicians who care about this up at night. But we're pledging that 1.5 new homes should be built in that first term of a Labour government.
1.5 new homes. What?
Homes should be built. 1.5 new homes should...
One Labour... what? She's saying Labour are proposing 1.5 new homes should be built. What? No.
1.5 new homes up at night. But we're pledging that 1.5 new homes should...
It's not the boldest. It's not the boldest pledge in the world, but it's doable. 1.5 new homes to be built by Labour. Ben Bradley getting
pieced up. Do what Keir Starmer said.
Instead of working with the National Trust. So more people can learn.
We're going to be heading off in a few, to be fair. I don't know how much more. Ooh, there's a lot more I wanted to talk about. We'll save it for Monday, potentially. I wanted to... yeah, we'll say... Oh, that's a scary picture. We'll save for another day. I want to do like a review on some stuff I did on Sunday Roast. Anyways, because I don't know, there are some areas I missed out on things, and some things I wasn't happy with regarding my performance, so I wanted to talk about it on the channel. But yeah, I've been going for about an hour and some change, So yeah, it really is too much news, not enough time. But I do have other plans on Saturdays as well. Like I went out earlier to see my friends, and probably going to hang out with be on call with them for a bit. So yeah. Anyways, thanks for everyone for joining. Thanks again, Mithril, for the memberships. Really appreciate it. It does help keep kind of the streams and the channel going. That's always great stuff. And yeah, before you go, can we pray for the King's restored flow? Oh Lord, no, less of that, less of that. But anyways, I'll catch you guys hopefully next Saturday. I know I didn't do a stream last week, but yeah, we should be good to go. Be the 3rd. I don't think I've got any plans for a while, to be fair. Anything major. I've got like something I have to sort out in August. But that's a long time away. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're one of the people that watches this back after as we played, big shouts out to you as well. And I'll catch you lot next week. Bye bye.